Hey everybody, Professor Doom here, and in case you didn't tune into my last video about Ted Kaczynski and the MK Ultra project, do so. Take a look at the description box. I left a couple of links to backup channels that I created in case YouTube decides to give me another strike or another strike and another strike, whatever the case may be. But anyway, this video right here, I don't see how they're going to be able to label this harmful conspiracy theory, because I am going to show you all of the evidence that what I am going to tell you is the absolute truth. And what is that truth? I am going to reveal to you all the true identity of the god Moloch. And it's going to go back so far that you're not even going to believe that that's who it is. But indeed, you're going to see that the evidence is unequivocal and beyond dispute. So let us take a look at why I decided to do this video, and it is because of this amusement park right here in Italy. And as you can see the name, Saturnalia, and take a look right up top. There is the statue of Moloch right at the entrance to the amusement park. Now, I want to show you guys a couple of other Moloch statues, and you're going to notice a pattern. You're going to notice something plastered right on the chest of the statues, and that's going to lead us to the rabbit hole of the answers to who the true identity of Moloch is. Let's get started. Here is that statue, a little closer up view at the amusement park right there, Saturnalia World, Italy, in Rome, Italy, I'm sorry. And you're going to see up at the very top of this picture right here is you're going to see a statue at the Colosseum of the statue of the god Moloch. And if you look right there, encompassed on his chest is the all-seeing eye. Indeed, the all-seeing eye. And which is interesting is that not only do the secret societies use this symbol, but so does the Vatican. I want to show you guys a couple of more of these statues, and then I'm going to show you how the Vatican and the Freemasons all use the same symbol as if they're venerating the god Moloch. But who indeed is the god Moloch? Another statue at the National Museum of Cinema in Turin, Italy, for a movie, a 1914 film, and you guys can see the name right there, Cabiria. And that was from Giovanni Pestrones, or Pestrones, however you pronounce his name. And as you'll see, the pattern continues that all of these statues have the all-seeing eye on his chest. So, now the question is, can we trace exactly who Moloch is all the way back to the true identity of the all-seeing eye? And that's what we're going to do. Some of the evidence. Why are some people saying that the Star of David is the star of Moloch or the star of Remphan? Moloch, spirit of the age. And as you can see right here, Moloch at the Colosseum. And of course, the all-seeing eye with the sun's rays on the chest of Moloch. So now that we see that there seems to be some kind of connection with Saturn and Moloch, let's take a look at all of the evidence that I've compiled to show you that indeed Moloch is none other than Saturn. But then once we do that, then we have to trace Saturn back a few places to get to the all-seeing eye. Here's where Saturn's desire to be the king of the universe becomes most evident. In this part of our series, we analyze the character and worship of yet another of his identities, Milcom, chief god of the Ammonites, who's better known to history as Molech or Moloch. So Saturn is indeed Moloch, and there's more. Baal Hamon, Molech or Saturn. Molech or Saturn equals Cronus equals El equals Moloch. The Canaanite El is addressed as bull god, while the Greek Cronus is the horn god. Yet Judaism is under Saturn. It is therefore not unreasonable to conflate Saturn with Moloch. For our immediate purposes, the juxtaposition of Saturn and Moloch provides us with the means of assessing the nature of the astrological Saturn as well as the shadow, jealous god in the Pentateuch. The age of Aquarius is the age of Saturn. Okay. So now that we've pretty much proved unequivocally that Saturn and Moloch are one and the same, now it is indeed necessary to add the other piece to the puzzle and bring Enki into the picture. Because indeed, as you're going to see, Enki and Saturn and Moloch are one and the same. In summer, Aquarius was called Agula, the Great One, and was associated with Enki or Ea by the Babylonians. The Great One was also known as the irrigator, who ensured the fertility of the fields by harnessing the power of rain and floods. Enki was the god of wisdom. Enki is also associated with Capricorn, the sea god, perhaps reflecting the shared rulership of Saturn with Aquarius. And just for ease right here, what we're going to show is that indeed, in case you didn't know it, in case you were uninformed about the identity of Cronus with Saturn, here you go. In the Chaldean story of the deluge is told by Berosus, Kronos, who's also known as Saturn, disclosed to the king Xanthothras that a universal flood would begin. Okay, so now right here, Saturnalia, or the worship of Saturn, was part of Sol Invictus worship. That is because indeed Sol Invictus and Saturn and Moloch are all one and the same entity. And how do we know that Sol, S-O-L, Statue of Liberty, is one and the same with Moloch and Saturn, the six-pointed star of David? That clue and none other than I Pet Goat 2. And right underneath the Statue of Liberty, you will see the six-pointed star, or the claimed Star of David, which happens to be the six-pointed star of Saturn. Now, how do we know the six-pointed star is the star of Saturn? Well, all you have to do is take a look at a couple of the logos out there, one of them being Walmart. Taking a look at this evidence right here, here's another linkage between this Enki and Saturn as the Capricorn ruler. One of the images that I use as an example to show you that, yes, indeed, the Statue of Liberty was, in fact, modeled after the god Sol Invictus, Saturn, Moloch. So basically what we have there on that island out in the water in New York is another image of Moloch and Sol Invictus and Saturn sitting right there. And let's take a look at some other stuff here. Now that we've already established that Saturn and Moloch are one and the same, and we've established that Enki, Saturn, and Moloch are all the same, Now let's go back even further and look to see if we can find the ultimate connection that we're looking for. Because remember I told you there is the emblem of the all-seeing eye right there on the chest of the statue of Moloch, and it's there for a reason. And I'm going to prove to you that reason now. Jewish Encyclopedia Star Worship, since Cain and Cain are linked with Saturn, the planetary name for Satan, the mark of Cain, was the mark of Saturn, a six-pointed star. Strong's 4481, Remfan. The name of an idol worshipped secretly by the Israelites in the wilderness, probably a statue of the Assyrian Babylonian god of the planet Saturn, used to symbolize Israelite apostasy. Both Cain and Saturn are identified as Cain. Ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch, and Cain Saturn, your images, a star of your god. Therefore will I cause you into a captivity beyond Damascus, saying that Moloch is indeed Saturn. Down here, the mark of Cain was worshipped by the Israelites in the wilderness as the star of Remphan, which Strong's Concordance identifies as Saturn. The mark of Cain is associated with the god Saturn. Now, since there is an all-seeing eye on the chest of this Moloch, now we have to make the connection between Cain, Saturn, and the all-seeing eye. But first, before we do that, let's take a look and see if there's proof that Cain is none other than Saturn, Cronus, Moloch. Saturn associated with the six-pointed star. Peacock in NBC with the six feathers. Now I want everybody to read this very carefully, and you guys will understand exactly where I'm coming from when you read it. To the ancient Greeks, a goddess named Gaia, meaning earth or life, was considered the mother of all living. Gaia, of course, immediately comes across as an Eve type. And even the name is similar to a variant of the Hebrew name Eve, Chea, meaning life, and pronounced similarly. Gaia's child Cronus was the Greek patron of the harvest, symbolized by the sickle and grain. The biblical Eve's son Cain was likewise known specifically as a tiller of the ground, a crop farmer. So as you can see, Gaia, the mother of Cronus, equivalent to Eve, making Cronus none other than Cain. So if Cronus Saturn is indeed Moloch, and there is an all-seeing eye on Moloch's statue, then somehow Cain being Cronus Saturn Moloch, there must be a way to prove that the all-seeing eye is indeed Cain. Let's take a look at that evidence right now. Cain happens to be in the Cain line in the Bible. And of course, what you're going to see here is that Tubal Cain was known of a godly line, and Tubal Cain's actual name was the god Vulcan. Vulcan. And as you're going to see right here, introduced many arts into society, which towards its improvement in civilization, Tubal Cain is the Vulcan of the pagans, according to Albert Mackey. So what we have here is we're being told that Cain's line was godly, just like we are being told in the myth of Saturn, Cronus, Moloch, that was a godly line. And as I just pointed out to you, Cain is actually Saturn Cronus. So indeed, that would make it that Tubal Cain would be a godly line if that's indeed true. So now we have to see, was there any evidence telling us exactly who the identity of Moloch and the all-seeing eye is? And why do all of these corporations venerate Moloch or Saturn, Cronus? Why did Walmart change their logo to the six-pointed star? Why does Target have the circumpunct or the symbol, the Egyptian symbol for the god Ra? Ra is Saturn, Cronus, Moloch. They all venerate the same entity. But why? And why does it lead us all the way back to Cain? Well, you're going to see that I'm going to prove to you unequivocally that yes, indeed, Cain, Cronus, Saturn, Enki, Ra is the all-seeing eye. So the Hebrew spelling or the Hebrew way of writing out the name of Cain is Qaf Ayin or Cain, Q-A-Y-I-N, which is Qaf Ayin. And what you'll notice is the amazing biblical language, the importance of the letter Qaf, was originally a pictograph depicting the sun on the horizon. The sun on the horizon. Now, what do you guys think that Ayin means? Let's take a look. Language. The letter Ayin began as a pictograph depicting an eye. An eye with the sun's rays, the two letters put together that form Cain's name, is an eye with the sun on the horizon, or the sun's rays. How do we know that this is what they're talking about? Is Cain somehow the sun? Is Cain somehow the all-seeing eye? Well, let's take a look and see what Albert Pike has to say, and let's take a look to see what the Gnostic Gospels tell us. That picture right here, early Hebrew, ancient name, Ayin, eye. Read very closely the number associated with Cain, the number 6, the six-pointed star, and this is from the Gnostic Gospels. The 6th is Cain, whom the great generations of men call the sun. Again, whom the great generations of men call the sun. They're calling Cain the sun. Just like Saturn is the sun god. Ra is the sun god. Are you starting to pick up on that right now? Okay. Now let's take a look to see what Albert Pike said. And then you're going to know that yes, indeed, Cain is Moloch, is Saturn, is Cronus, is Ra, is Enki, and he is also the all-seeing eye. Here's Albert Pike. Morals and dogma of Albert Pike. Pike now related the sun to the all-seeing eye. The all-seeing eye in our lodges is the sun. And indeed, it is Cain. He leaves us with a couple of questions is why? How long have they known? Why haven't they made any move to tell us of who they're actually venerating? Not only the secret societies, but the Vatican itself. And as I can show you all of the examples of the all-seeing eye being displayed in all kinds of Catholic churches around the globe, and of course secret societies using the exact same symbol. So they've been venerating Cain, who for some reason they seem to know that he's of some godly line, and that there's going to be a return. I know a lot of people out there don't believe that there's going to be an actual return of any beings or entities whatsoever. I still question that. I do believe that there's a reason why they're venerating this entity for who they believe him to be. And we'll just have to wait and see. But there's your evidence, everybody. It's not a conspiracy theory. There is your proof. Thanks, everyone.